Good morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and welcome to Gaming Red-Handed. It's been a while since I've been on Once Human here. Been playing Path of Exile for a bit. I'm back in game now. Figured I'd do an update. I think I'm going to be planning out my next grind session. I'm going to be figuring out I guess my gear upgrading path. It's a bit update on myself here. My character's level 50. I've been level 50 for a couple weeks now. I've done most everything. I've cleared almost all the landmarks here. I've done almost every Prime War except this last nightmare here. It's been kind of bugged out on our server here, constantly restarting over and over again. So hopefully I can get it done. I got myself a decent blueprint. I've been using this maxed out corrosion, trying to go for this power surge setup. And right now, I guess I gotta go on. I gotta fix my mods. I don't have any good mods right now. I gotta go through and find a good secondary. I've been using the Hammerhead Shark, but I don't really like the pistol. It doesn't have enough rounds in the magazine. It's gotta reload too often. The perk I gotta use to make a trigger is too situational. It's very difficult to rely heavily on weak point shots. So it's like I don't know. It's not. I don't like it. Right, it's not calibrated. Sure, it could probably be better if I did calibrate it, but even still, don't really like it. So what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be building on this power armor set here. I got myself 3 pieces of sheltered. I'm going to be going for the 4-piece set bonus. It's because that's what I've got so far. I've got 3-piece sheltered and 2-piece renegade, but this is just what I got from the wish machine here. I've been saving up currency. As you can see, I've got about 9,000. So I'm gonna go through, properly look at all the blueprints in this shop here, and kind of theory craft my my plan of action, which is most likely gonna be farming a bunch of dungeons and getting the mods in place, right? So let's go take a look at the blueprint shop. I'm not new to the party here. I'm pretty sure there's been people out here who've been putting a bunch of reviews and videos out and stuff like that. Now my first goal was just to keep going with this power surge set. I wanted to find something nice to pair with it, and what comes to mind is this raining cache. But I like the idea of this locational fortress warfare. And I know that this fortress warfare has some mods that kind of play along with keeping the effect lingering on yourself. And I do like the fact that while you're in fortress warfare, it gives you 30% crit chance and damage reduction, and it doesn't rely on the weapon. The weapon itself puts the buff below you, but then you don't need to have it active. I think the only other thing that's in that same category is the basic crossbow, not this one, but the one you get from the world's blueprint here. Crossbow, a lot of people have been talking about this one here, where it's like hitting a weak spot. Well, it's like bullseye, and the bullseye is basically vulnerability, right? Bullseye effect is 8% vulnerability, I believe. Go pull it up. Where's it at here? Did I scroll past it? What's at the top here? So target's highlighted, outline, 8% vulnerability for 12 seconds. Now I don't know what vulnerability actually means. I'm going to assume it's some form of increased damage, global increased damage for everybody in the party. I can't go any further in terms of finding details, but that's just me making a educated guess. So bullseye is all right. I know a lot of people like pushing the bullseye approach, but I don't plan on doing that because only one person can do vulnerability, and when you're in a group you don't need multiple vulnerability users. So, and also I don't like relying on needing to hit weak points, especially as I plan on using the mod that's going to disable my ability to hit weak points, so I won't be able to really benefit from it. And I do want to stick with shotguns. So raining cache, I like what raining cache is doing. I had this gun drop for me. I didn't have the full the ability to repair it, but I did use it for a bit, and it is also interesting. This one here gives you bullseye, but also defeating a marked enemy grants you attack +6 for up to 60 seconds, so you could stack it, and after triggering the bullseye, damage reduction for 5% for up to 8 seconds for up to 4 stacks, so you get 20% damage reduction, and the crit rate is 30% when hitting a marked enemy. But I'm not sure if that last line is for any gun or just this gun. I think because of the way it's written, that 30% is only applied to the Doombringer itself. However, I do not like sawed-off shotgun. The only sawed-off shotgun I didn't have a problem using was the one I had before, the burn one, which is this one here, because it had an interesting effect. This dual fury here, it inflicts stacks of burn per shot if it's the last shot in the magazine, and after hitting an enemy with all 4 projectiles, after hitting an enemy with all projectiles 4 times, enter a special burn state where you lose some HP. Will not allow you to fall below 0. Attack plus 20% and vulnerability plus 10% for 8 seconds. So you basically get bullseye effect and attack and an attack bonus. I'm pretty sure it's for you. Burn state where you lose some HP. Attack plus 20%, vulnerability plus 10%. I don't know if that puts that vulnerability on you or not. Never really clarified that. I could probably put that together and try to test it out real quick. Let me go get this gun. I know I have it somewhere. I had one that was fully calibrated, but I ended up breaking it down a while ago. Just gonna test it real quick. Good thing is, like, you pair that single shot in the round mod with the cradle buff that you get from the shotgun, which is 20% extra damage when holding a pistol or shotgun, reloads 1 ammo upon defeating an enemy. And you can kind of leave that 1 bullet thing kind of rolling. So I do want to test to see if that burn effect is a vulnerability on myself. And you can do that by going in here and showing buffs, and it shows everything that comes up here. I think it wore off already though. Yeah, it wears off too fast. Let me see if I can catch it. Oh, dropped off already. I'll try to catch it. So after reading it, it says the damage on there. It actually says plus 15% vulnerability in the tooltip, and it says 30% increased attack power. So I don't know which one it's actually giving me. It seems like there's a bit of a disconnect there. It says attack plus 30% and vulnerability plus 10% for 8 seconds. I don't know if that is putting vulnerability on me. It sounds like it is. But there are some mods you can pair with that. Like, do I have it? The max burn stack, when I was building burns, I was using that. But I think what I would use instead is, I don't have it. There's a burn mod that exists that when you're on fire, it increases your crit chance by a certain amount. And when the target's on fire, it does it by a certain amount. And that could kind of play into corrosion. The corrosion special thing is that you have a 70% chance to trigger power surge on hit, but will not inflict power surge again. Now, power surge itself is a damage over time with lightning, right? But what happens here is it just triggers power surge like a burst skill. So when you use it, rather than doing damage over time, it just triggers a power surge immediately. So that blue damage you're seeing is this power surge triggering immediately on its own, right? Now, power surge itself it's a continuous debuff, as the game kind of describes it. So my baton here can put power surge on. You see it stacks the static electricity on the back end. But what it does is it doesn't do any damage, from what I understand. But what power surge actually does, you read it here, let me go here, is it deals status damage of 50% psi intensity once and inflicts power surge on the status for 6 seconds, which is minus 40% accuracy. That's all it does. It's not a damage over time. It's just a continuous debuff that reduces their accuracy by 40%. So when you're using the corrosion, you're just getting the burst damage, but you're not getting the reduced accuracy. And if you really want to reduce accuracy, then you would have to use something that inflicts power surge on the same level, right? I pair that with the helmet, the gas mask hood, which gives, after triggering power surge, crit rate 35% for 3 seconds. I basically trigger power surge non-stop, so this buff never comes off. It's always on. My crit rate is not even that high, to be honest, but since it's a shotgun and there's so many minor pellets, I crit very often, right? So my crit rate come here to about 24%. I don't know how much higher I'm gonna get it. I don't think I'm gonna go for 100%, but I'm gonna go a bit higher than this. There's a few generic mods I plan on going for. And so that's the idea there. So it does stay on rather well. My problem right now is my damage is kind of low. So while this is decent, I do notice that I have some issues soloing certain targets. So I gotta adjust my mods and get my legendaries in place. So I gotta go through the blueprint machine here and look through other mods that I was gonna get here. Like I said, raining cash is a good option for what I'm gonna pair with this. There's also the crossbow, but I don't really like the weak point targeting stuff. Everything else here is kind of just single target DPS for itself. Like fast gunner is just mainly to benefit the gun itself, right? Frost can be interesting. Let's see. After hit the enemy 5 times to trigger frost vortex. After, well, this is the main weapon. If I start using this, I would have to focus on using this weapon here because it wants me to continuously hit. I don't want to do that. My main weapon is the corrosion. I need something to supplement it. So I got the currency right now. I'm just deciding what I'm going to put with it just now. I have the hammerhead shark, which is 80% chance to trigger power surge when hitting a weak spot. When hitting an enemy that is affected by power surge, deal 100% psi intensity shock damage to all enemies affected by power surge in the area. This is kind of a cool gun. It's just very difficult to apply power surge in my build because this is the only gun I have that can do it, or I can use the baton. It's not really economical or viable to really rely on this thing. Also, it's got 5 shots. It gets empty real quick. This might be a good burst cannon once I do get around to upgrading it. Right now, my calibration for this weapon is level 1. So maybe if I upgrade it, it could be a good secondary, but I don't like it right now, so I don't think I'm gonna do that. I went through here and I didn't see anything else that would pair well with it. And SMGs, there is another power surge weapon, but I don't think I need more than one option for power surge. This one here, 25% chance to trigger power surge when hitting an enemy after defeating an enemy. Power surge chance is 30% based on trigger chance. After reloading, power surge chance 40% based on weapon trigger chance for 3 seconds. This one here triggers power surge often, but it can't crit with power surge the way corrosion can. So, I mean, I'm guessing it can scale up the same way, but I think that this version might be a bit better. Also, I don't really like SMGs like that. I'm trying to stick to this thematic build here. Whether or not it's to my own benefit or detriment, we'll see. All right, what else is here? People have been talking about this gun here. 70% chance to trigger bullseye on a weak spot hit. After switching to this weapon, the first hit will trigger bullseye. So this has a chance to trigger bullseye when you're using it consistently, but when you switch to it and fire once and hit the target, it'll put bullseye on. So this is a good secondary weapon to constantly put bullseye on without needing a weak spot. It is a bit better than the crossbow, except it doesn't give you that global 30% crit damage the way the crossbow does. And it has a bonus when you hit weak spot damage for 15% on the hit for 10 seconds. Can stack up 3 times, so you get an extra 45% weak spot damage, which is pretty good for the rifle itself. I don't know if that lingers. I don't know if that stays for the weapon or not. And then after defeating an enemy with a weak spot hit, gain 15% attack damage for 20 seconds. That's good for clearing trash and stuff like that, right? I don't know if that lingers. If it does, it'd be pretty cool. What else is here? There's the SMGs here. This has some burn effects. This is for good AoE clear, right? This wants you to trigger the burns and then it'll explode the burns on other targets. This is fast gunner. Not really interested in that. This crossbow grants reload speed +6, critical rate 10% temporarily when hitting a target. Effect can be stacked 3 times. Gain max stacks when defeating a target. At max stacks, unstable bomber is trigger. Unstable bomber is a explosion, right? If you it's kind of complicated to go figure out what these effects are because you got to go over here and then where's it again? I guess I gotta go to the blueprint side of it and go see it. Gotta go here. Gotta have a blueprint that actually has the effect to do it on. I don't like how convoluted they made this menu. I don't like that there's not a quick way of looking at these status effects. You have to like jump through menus and mouse over, and then you get the ability to press X to see the keywords. It's a different way of doing that. Please let me know in the comments, but that's the only way I figured out for so far. Unstable bomber is a trigger status damage blast of 100% psi intensity after 0.1 seconds With a blast radius of 1.5 meters, the damage decays over the explosion distance down to a minimum of 50%. The additional damage is blast element, cannot crit, cannot strike weak points, and will not decay with distance. And then this is the formula it uses. So this is instant AoE damage. I have a unstable bomber weapon. I got it early on in the game. I found it in a box. I'll pull it out, show you guys how unstable bomber kind of works here. I have it pinned up my wall over here. My weapon rack. It's the DW Jaws. Bring it over here. I actually like the DW Jaws because it's like it's a Desert Eagle. It's got a kind of cool design, even though I would like some plain black weapons. And how this weapon works real quick is every 4 hits, it will trigger unstable bomber. Critical hits increase the count by 1. After defeating an enemy, blast damage 30% for 12 seconds. Unstable bomber can deal critical hits. This is basically the same as this, but for unstable bomber. So these both can be used. However, this is a main weapon. This is meant to be your main weapon. The same way this is meant to be your main weapon, right? This is good for clearing trash. Every time you crit, you get the explosion. That explosion there is unstable bomber. That's gonna help you just clear trash mobs as they come by. Right. Explosion damage is not fire damage though. It's blast damage is not fire damage. So building on that would be kind of interesting. I think if I were to use this gun, I'd build it straight crit damage, right? I think there's not, I don't even know if you can scale blast damage that well, but because this thing can crit, I would scale the crit, right? Just so you can get some powerful explosions. You see the explosion number there? Every time it comes up, get a nice 2K explosion. That's what I would probably scale up on. Yeah. The hammerhead itself, like that has a lot of bullets. The hammer itself though, this thing runs empty real fast, right? Like it's very strong. I think if I upgrade this thing to level 10, it'd be pretty good. But it's just the ammo count to me is too low. It's too low and cumbersome. But if you're good at not missing any shots, your DPS will be very good. I mean, you see the DPS on this weapon is not bad. That lightning strike was one of my mods proccing. So yeah. So let's see here. So yeah, so that's what else do we have here to look at? What does the heavy do? This is Fortress Warfare 2. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards Fortress Warfare. I don't know how well that scales. I don't know how good it'll be in situations because this one here, you just have to reload and trigger it. It's a shotgun. You can reload after every shot. So triggering this is not a problem. The concern of this is dealing with bosses and how do you have to maneuver in certain encounters and dropping this thing. It does have a cooldown of 10 seconds, so you put it down and you have to immediately dodge, you end up losing it, right? There is a mod that exists that allows you to keep it on you for 2 seconds. So you can bypass some of that downtime, but there is going to be downtime with this mod here. The same way there's going to be downtime with the crossbow mod because you have to hit a weak point and you have to constantly switch back and forth between your weapons and sometimes that's not always ideal, right? So those are the weapons. I think I'm leaning towards Raining Cash. I think next season though, I'm definitely going to be playing with the DW Jaws here and messing with the unstable bomber. Just not right now. I don't have the currency to buy too many blueprints, and I do like the idea behind this one here. What else? I ended up buying the gas mask hood. This was the other power surge helmet that was available, which is defeating enemies will generate EMP, dealing power surge 1 time to enemies in the area. And that would pair well with the hammerhead shark because the hammerhead shark pistol here requires targets to already be affected by power surge in order for it to do its power surge intensity shock to all enemies around it. So that EMP would pair well, but I don't have a problem killing trash mobs. I do want to do much more damage on single target bosses, so I think I'm not going to really be building around doing more damage to the other stuff that accompanies the boss. But who knows, maybe I'll change my mind on that later on when I see the higher level trash that can show up. These other status gear here, these are all status effect blueprints here. These deal with unstable bomber, frost vortex. These are builds not really interested in right now. This one here would probably use the pistol. That's a good pairing. This delays the unstable bomber effect, and I'm not sure the play on that. I guess you could start queuing up some bursts, but I'm not sure how that would feel. Well, this one here would be the obvious choice because it gives you crit rate for 35% for 3 seconds. I don't know I don't know if it'll be as consistent as it is with the corrosion, because the corrosion has so many other pellets that can also crit that it's permanently on, whereas the pistol itself is one shot. So if it doesn't crit, then you only have 3 seconds to do another crit before you lose the uptime on this thing, right? I have these gloves already. No, actually, I have a different version of these gloves that do what it's talking about. When affected by burns, this would pair well with the dual shotgun I just used, because when you're burnt, it gives you weapon damage and crit rate. So this is when you would trigger that burn stack, and then you would switch back over to and then spam up some unstable bombers, right, just to get that weapon damage and crit rate up. But there's some good pairings I see for fire. I just wish that Power Surge had more than 2 helmets to mess with. So it leads you to having to go over to the generic stuff, right? This is just for weapon builds, weak point, stuff like that. Weak point bounce, I believe. Shrapnel, bounce this ricochet, so the turrets nearby. It's like chain lightning, bullseye effect. I think Fortress Warfare isn't here. This is Fortress Warfare here. This is marked. So what does this do? Automatically refill 1 bullet and increase fire rate by 15% when in Fortress Warfare. That could be good. The problem is you only can have 1 key armor. You see that? See beside armor blueprint, it says key armor. That basically means unique. You only can have 1 unique, and I already have the helmet on, and the helmet is much better than that. But these Fortress Warfare effects are pretty good. They are pretty good. I like the idea of this, but I don't think it's good. I don't think it's better than 35% crit rate. Definitely not. All right, so here's some of the sets I'm looking at. So I already have Shelterer. Shelterer set gives, the main thing I'm looking for is number 3. Each weapon hit grants 1 stack of deviant energy. Each stack of deviant energy grants 1% elemental damage. Elemental damage is blaze, shock, frost, or blast. And effects can be stacked up to 20 times. Reloading removes half the total stacks. So basically, when you get to 20 stacks, you get 20% additional element damage, right? Number 4 of the 4-piece bonus of this set increases the max energy stack to 10 and grants 2 stacks when hitting weak points. So you can get there faster, and you go up to 30% every time you get full stack. This gun can hit 10 stacks pretty fast, right? So got 20 bullets in the clip. You see, it can get to 20 stacks. As you can see, it's not counting all of these shots here, right? Oh, I'm already at 10. There we go. I'm already at max stacks, right? You look at beside my character name there, you see the fire. That's a deviant energy beside my health bar. Reload. It's half. So that means for the first half of the clip, you're kind of lose some of the damage, right? I think that getting the 4-piece would be better, because even though you would lose half the stacks, because you're able to hit weak points, it's gonna double up even faster, right? So you're gonna get yourself back up to full much quicker. So I think that's the goal I'm gonna go for, with 30%. But the Lone Wolf set could also be good, but I don't have the points to buy them all right now. The Lone Wolf set focuses on crit rate, right? So it gives you 5% crit rate off the jump, so that brings me a 30% crit rate. On top of the helmet, I would have me at 65% crit chance. So that could be good, right? And then the 3-piece is get 1 stack of Lone Wolf every 2 weapon crit hits. Lone Wolf gives you crit damage plus 6% for 30 seconds, and the effect stacks up to 8 times. So that's pretty decent. Now, if you're building on crit damage, Lone Wolf is not bad. It is a set I also considered, but I have what I have, right? The way you get your gear is from the gambling machine, and you kind of gotta make do with what you got, right? But the stacks here, so every 2 weapon crit hits gives you 6%, a 6% stack, right? So it would take you roughly what, 16 shots, 16 crits to get full stack. I don't know how long that will take. It lasts 30 seconds though, so it lasts quite a long time, right? When you get the 4-piece bonus, it increases the stacks to 10, so it goes from 48% max to what's that, 60% max crit rate, max crit damage, and then oh, it increases even more. Increases and it gives you a flat 8% crit rate. So oh, that's pretty nice actually. So you get another 8% crit, and then your lone wolves go to 10. And oh, so it only gives you the crit rate for 2 seconds after reloading, which is not much time. This seems better suited for fast fire weapons. Like, I know a lot of people like using that, but 2 seconds is not a long time, especially with the shotgun. Like, I don't think you're gonna get many shots off in 2 seconds to make use of that crit rate, right? But the crit damage of 60% is pretty good, right? You get a 60% crit rate. I mean, crit damage bonus, as opposed to the Deviant set, which is 30%, which is more consistent because it doesn't take as much time to stack up and you don't keep losing it. But it's, I don't know how far you could take that in terms of like, is that the route you want to go? Do you want to rely on crits, or you want to rely on flat damage? Right now I already have the shelter set, but so I'm probably going to finish it, and then next when I get more points, or if I get lucky with the blueprints, I'll get the lone wolf set and start trying that. I already have 3 pieces of this, so I don't know if I want to, you know, start shifting over just yet, right? The set is good though, right? Other sets here, you have the Renegade set. I got this from the machine also. These pieces here, I got the boots and the gloves, I believe. This one's not bad either. This one is hitting the same target consecutively grants you 1 stack of Archer's Focus, increasing your weak spot damage by 4% up to 10 stacks. Archer's Focus are halved when you change target, so this gives you 40% increased weak spot damage. Weak spots, I don't know how much extra damage weak spots actually do. It's something I have to research. It's not quite a crit. I think crits do more. Let me check. Let me see if I can find that answer. Now, I cannot seem to find any information on the difference between crit damage and weak spot damage. I don't know if they're the same. I know that crit damage is conditional on you critting, whereas weak spot damage is conditional on you just being able to accurately aim and find a weak spot. Some enemies have easier weak spots to hit than others. I don't know though which you would want to focus on. I don't really know which is stronger. I do know that weak spot hits can be crit hits, so there's some overlap there, right? But it's hard to tell. But this thing here gives you 40% increased damage when you're hitting weak spots, and weak spots can crit, so the damage is there. And then the number 4 set, 4-piece bonus is when reloading. Every 1% of weak spot hit from the previous magazine. Oh, when reloading, for every 1% of weak spot hit from the previous magazine, load an extra 0.6% bullets up to 30%. So I guess if you just keep hitting all your bullets in place, all the weak spots, you're sending additional bullets in the magazine, so you can keep this going, and you're gonna see how it adds up, right? Because as you keep getting more and more bullets on target, you keep getting more and more bullets on the reload, and this is good for bosses, right? Because you only have 1 target on bosses unless you switch the ads, but it also disincentivizes you from killing ads and relying on your team to do that, right? Because you want to keep that stack going so you get as many bullets on target as you can. And if you get a lot of bullets in the magazine, then you don't have to reload, and you don't have to reload, you get more DPS, right? Simple as that, right? Your DPS is halted every time you have to reload. So that's the idea behind this set here. I could see it being really cool for assault rifles, really cool for LMGs, and like, what else do we have here? It won't work for what I'm trying to do though. The Savior set was kind of interesting to me too. When HP is above 70%, weapon and status damage plus 10%. So that would give me some nice damage there, just at 10% just for being full. And then the 3-piece bonus is when HP is below 30%, automatically use the least potent activator in the backpack. Cooldown 40 seconds. So the idea behind this was you want to make sure that you have only the best activator in your backpack that you want to use. That way it can only use that, and then you don't keep any other low level ones in your bag. After using an activator, movement speed plus 20%, all damage plus 20%. And cloak for 2 seconds, 20% damage reduction on the torso and limbs. This is more about just a threat drop, right? I don't know how tanking works in dungeon, but the idea behind this trigger is to basically stop the bleeding, right? Stop the boss from targeting you, stop the enemies from targeting you. You hit the cloak in the middle of battle, everything is going to switch over to the next target on the threat list, right? So it's pretty cool. It's not DPS oriented, it's more support oriented, right? There are some group healing activators, so this is an interesting thing because you can use this to trigger AoE group healing. So this could be cool, right? What else? This is the shelter set. We already went over that. This set here kind of has an interesting active. It's built around rolling. Taking damage grants a stack of powered armor. Damage reduction 4% for 10 seconds. Effect stacks 6 times. So that gives you roughly, what is that? 24% damage reduction, right? And then what you have next is that's 36%, right? 4 times 6, 36%. Where's my math at? So yeah, so I was right, 24%. Early in the morning, I had to go check my math, make sure I wasn't doing something foolish there. But 24%, and then what else here? So rolling consumes 3 stacks of powered armor and triggers an explosion that knocks back surrounding enemies for each hit. 5% HP up, 20% cool, up to 20%, cooldown 10 seconds. This is the tank set, straight up and down tank set. It's damage reduction and it gives you maximum HP, and it wants you to stay up close and keep rolling around and hitting targets. I don't know how you keep the target attacking you, but the idea behind this is to keep your life up, right? And your damage reduction down. PvP exists in the game. Maybe it has some tactical play there. I don't know how useful it'll be in group play and PvE play, but you know, this set here is it's interesting, the idea behind it. I think it looks cool. I just don't know how I would make use of this. What else? Bastille. So stay crouched and immobile for 0.5 seconds to enter a Bastille state, which grants 40% weapon damage. Upon exiting Bastille state, sprint is disabled for 3 seconds and stamina consumption is increased by 100%. 3 seconds after exiting Bastille state, gain 1 stack of armor per second, up to 60 stacks. While in Bastille state, each stack of armor provides a shield equal to 1% of your max HP. If the shield drops to 0 during Bastille state, you gain 30% vulnerability effect. I don't understand what that means. Is it like, because the burn thing confuses me because it puts a debuff on you and it says it gives you 20% damage and 15% vulnerability effect. So is that the same as Bulleye but not applying Bulleye? It just gives you personal Bulleye, because Bulleye gives vulnerability to the target and makes the target glow blue, and I think everyone who hits the target has vulnerability on him. But the way this is worded, it sounds like it's applying it to you, but I think what this one is obviously not applying it to you. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is because your shield is broken, so now you have vulnerability on you because your shield got broken here. I'm just confused about how this works. I wish I had the currency to buy this set so I can just test it to figure out what it's saying. But even though I even have the shotgun there, I can't really test if that means it's giving me vulnerability effect or not. If that means because I'm on fire, I am now taking increased damage. Because my shield is broken, I'm taking increased damage. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me I don't quite get it. The wording is a little bit confusing to me. Hopefully someone can clarify that. But this is the set for obviously a sniper side player, somebody who's sitting in the back. Now you're not supposed to get hit and you're not supposed to move. Very obvious. That's why your bonuses is from keeping your health above 70%. There's a mod that gives you bonus damage when you're above 70%. You're supposed to stay in the back, stay low, don't move, stand there and keep shooting, because you just get constant steady state 40% increased weapon damage. All right, sniper rifle, assault rifle, LMG, a gun that doesn't require you to go anywhere, right? And then every now and then when you have to dodge, you get some armor while you're running around because you're going to be kind of squished, right? So yeah, so the only two sets that really called out to me is Shelterer and Lone Wolf. I got Renegade randomly, but this is gonna be the next set I'm gonna work on, but probably not this season unless I can get another 12k Starchrome, which I probably can't. Because right now what I'm going to be doing is buying a raiding cash shotgun. I'm probably gonna look it up a bit more before I buy it. I don't like the way the Starchrome set up because it's such a tight thing that like you have to concern yourself with buying new blueprints because it doesn't come in right. But this is what I'm gravitating towards, is getting the raiding cash, and then after that buying the last piece of the Shelterer blueprint so I can at least have the 4-piece bonus going, and then worry about building Lone Wolf later on when I actually get some blueprint pieces for it, because this could edge out Shelterer set. I can't test it. I don't have the currency to test it. I'm not gonna switch to it now because I don't have the currency for it, right? Yeah, so there's a cool chart I found that I'm going to be following. So this is a Google Doc that I'm going to share in the comments below by Dumaris. It's found on the Reddit here, and it basically kind of summarizes all the mods available currently in game and where to find them. So this is going to be very helpful. I haven't been able to play much, so I didn't know all this. So going into it, I'm going to be using this as kind of a blueprint of where I'm going to be farming next. And my first focus is going to be to finish up getting the mods I need for my weapon here. I like this. I like how it's grouped up. These are the legendary mods. This is the effects they do in this level here. This is where they go. These all go on the weapon. Right now, I'm currently using this one, Power Surge damage plus 5% for 3 seconds up to 4 stacks. So it gives you 20% extra damage on Power Surge. And I keep this permanently up, right? What else is here? This is Power Surge status duration and Power Surge damage plus 20%. This one here might be better because this is just instantly on, right? But I cannot apply Power Surge, so... But just having damage up, period, might be better than this. It's interesting because I don't understand if the mods are supposed to straight up usurp the previous mods, but this removes duration, and my Power Surge, I cannot inflict Power Surge at all. So losing 50% Power Surge duration doesn't matter because I can't inflict it. So this, I think, is a straight up upgrade to this because of the fact that I don't have to build it up. It's just on, right? What else? When triggering Power Surge, apply Power Surge status to one enemy within 5 meters of the target. Prioritizes enemies that are not affected by Power Surge. This could be good to put on a secondary weapon if I decide to go, because I can also decide to go dual corrosion, right? And just have a secondary one that I can use just for clearing trash. I can spread Power Surge. It'll spread my shots around. I imagine that's how it should work. It should spread the Power Surge around to other targets, allowing for good AoE clear. I wouldn't use this as my main weapon because I think the damage is better, but this would be good for clearing trash. I don't think it's a quick way of switching mods. There might be. I think you can. Let me just quickly check. But I think you can. I think you can save sets. You can save sets. So you can switch back and forth quickly. I don't know if there's a hotkey to do it in game. I have to look at that later on when I'm not recording to see if there is a quick way of switching back and forth, right? But that could be something to do. So, and we have Shock Rampage. Dealing Power Surge damage grants 5% Power Surge trigger chance based on weapon trigger chance for up to 5 seconds. Effect stacks 4 times. Now, because my Power Surge procs on crit, I don't know if I need Power Surge trigger chance on top of that, right? So like, you look at my weapon effects, there's a 70% chance of triggering Power Surge on hit, but will not inflict Power Surge. Oh, I guess I could. I guess it would help. It would bring my Power Surge chance to 90%, right? Because only 70% chance to trigger Power Surge on hit. Power Surge can deal critical hits. Power Surge critical hit rate is 50%. So I guess it's not bad. I guess having more Power Surge procs, 20% more, could be good. Could be good. I'll think about that. I'll think about that for sure. So yeah, so currently I think my 2 options are probably going to be this one here, Static Shock, because it doesn't require the ramping. It's just always on. I don't need a duration, And this one I'll have to check. I'll test this out. When I find this one, I'll test it out and see which one feels better. Anything else in here? I think that's it. Fortress Warfare, if I do get raining cash. This is the group organized one. Players inside the Fortress Warfare. The more players inside the Fortress Warfare, the greater the weapon damage bonus up to 40%. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. When Fortress Warfare ends, weapon damage plus 10%, movement speed plus 10% for 10 seconds. This might be the play, but this requires you to sit through the full duration of Fortress Warfare. Whereas this one here, after leaving Fortress Warfare, the status remains for 2 seconds. This one allows you to shoot and move, right? Shoot and move. But again, it still has that 10-second global cooldown of this Fortress Warfare. This allows you to keep it on for 2 seconds, even though 2 seconds is not that long, and I have not seen any increased duration effects on mods. This one here is every enemy defeated while in Fortress Warfare state will extend the effect by 5 seconds, up to 5 times. This could be cool also, because this allows you to chain the Fortress Warfare. But again, this is only for trash mobs. Now, some bosses do have trash, but this could be good. But again, this requires you to stand still, right? This could be the downside there. Anything else? No. So these are all for your weapon. This is your helmet slot. So for the helmet slot, what I am leaning towards is this one here. Cannot do weak spot damage, but I don't know if I want to surrender weak spot damage. This gives you 10% crit chance and 30% crit damage. I don't know if this can supplement losing weak spot damage, right? It sounds good on paper, but I don't know if this is a good play, a good trade. I'm currently using this because this is what I found. And this is a big problem for shotguns because it reduces my range by 25%, which hurts, but it gives you 20% increased status damage, which is good. This one I need to replace. Not probably, I need to replace. I don't like any of these ones that rely on your HP being above max. I don't like any of these ones here because the shotgun play is inherently aggressive and I'm not playing super tank. So I am going to be fluctuating my life a lot. So I don't want to rely on anything that will turn off if my life drops below a certain threshold. Fire rate 10% for the first 50% of the magazine. Then weapon damage 30% for the next 50% of the magazine. This could be okay because I'm using a shotgun and I could really time out when the damage boost comes in. But again, I would gravitate towards something this conditional, right? What else do we have? Hit and weak spot grants 12% weak spot damage for 3 seconds, stacks 3 times. This is also too hyper conditional for me, or I was doing a shrapnel build maybe, but I don't like that. Reloading an empty magazine grants 10% reload speed and 15% status damage, lasting till the next thing. This is good, except this is good on the double barrel more than it is good on my 21 magazine assault rifle by auto shotgun here. This would take too long. Well, then again, it would give me this every other reload. So this is interesting because I don't know how this works. Because reloading empty magazine gives you 10% reloads and 15% status damage lasting until the next reload. Does this chain? Like, does this continue to keep proccing over and over again? Because if it does, this might be the play. Do I have this? Let me check my weapon. Do I have this mod? Nope, that's not it. I thought that was it. I don't have this mod. I gotta get to farming. I gotta get some more mods in my system here. It looks good. Do I have? Oh, actually, no. This is not it. This is what I have in my boots, but this is a helmet mod. And I don't have it. What I have in my helmet right now is Deviation X. I gotta test it out. When I find that one, I'm definitely gonna test it out. This has a little asterisk beside it because if this can continue the chain, then it's gonna be permanent 15% increased status damage, right? When the magazine is empty, I don't care about that. After reloading, crit rate plus 10%, crit damage plus 20% for 2 seconds. I don't like that 2 seconds because my fire rate's not fast enough to make use of it. So far, the only thing I could use is this, which I deem to be suboptimal because of the range decrease. I don't know if I want to trade off my weak spot damage just yet, but I will test this one out when I do find it. this one here is what I'm gravitating towards, just because if it lets me chain it, then it's very good. That's where we're at right now. Too conditional. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't know why they separate elemental damage from status damage. Because Power Shock is a status, but it's also an element. Blast is a status, but also an element. Burn is a status, but also an element. Frost Vortex is a status, but also an element. The frost damage is an element, but it also scales off status damage. So I think there might be a translation error here. I think that it wouldn't make sense to have weapon damage, which is your weapon, your bullet damage, elemental damage, which is the fire, frost, shock, burn, blast, and it's status damage, which I imagine is playing off the damage over time. However, when you look at the corrosion shotgun, it's specifically labeled as a status weapon, right? And can I even look at it here? I can't do it on this menu here. I cannot stand how the menus are set up where I cannot look at the effects of the weapon from that menu. Power Surge itself is a status, right? Power Surge itself does status damage. Frost Vortex does status damage. What else? Status damage. There's all the status damage, but it also does element damage. Like, so I don't understand why element and status have two separate scaling factors. I don't understand why this distinction is here. And I feel like I'm missing something. So, yeah, so that's what I'm gravitating towards mod wise. For the helmet, for the mask, let's see here. Maybe if it gets hard enough, maybe you consider it. If I was going to pair this with the dual fury shotgun, this would be the mod I would use on my my mask. But also this is a bit conditional too, right? So this is Frost Vortex oriented. Every stack of burn grants psi intensity. This could also be very good, but I would have to build on stacks, and I can't do that because the stack building item is a unique, and I'm using the helmet right now. Unstable bomber, shrapnel. I'm currently using this. I have this one, Power Surge. After triggering Power Surge 20 times, the next hit summons a Celestial Thunderbolt. This is hard to build on because I can only increase my psi intensity by upgrading my armor blueprint value, and I cannot do that without more Starcrom to buy more blueprints from the Wish Machine, etc. Enemies without Power Surge status, Power Surge ultimate damage plus 30%. Interesting. For enemies without Power Surge status, I guess this might be the play, because I cannot inflict Power Surge. So this for sure is what I'm using, right? Power Surge is ultimate damage. I don't know if the ultimate damage is just some fancy wording, because I've never seen ultimate anywhere else, but I'm assuming what this means is when Power Surge is first implemented, when it first hits, it does damage before applying the status effect at minus accuracy. Because the corrosion shotgun cannot inflict Power Surge, that means every time Power Surge crits, it should be benefiting from this 30% increased damage. This for sure is what I'm going to be testing. First electrocution. If it works where I think it will, I think that's going to be a great damage bonus right there, because I cannot inflict Power Surge to begin with, so it'll always be the first time applying Power Surge. What else? I can't mark. I don't mark. No super armor inside Fortress Warfare. Attack plus 12%. So this gives up super armor for increased damage. I'm going to be using Fortress Warfare, but I don't know if this is a good trade-off. Fortress Warfare ranged. Well, Fortress Warfare plants itself at the bottom of your feet. Does that mean the radius will be shrunk down? Is that what that's saying? That might be worse, because I mean, you have to stand still. I have to test that out. I don't know what this is. So far, this is probably the play, but I have to test this out, because I'm pretty sure that means radius and not range, because Fortress Warfare is not a range thing. It drops out your feet. So I don't know why would it decrease the range unless it's decreasing your weapon range. When a bullet hits an enemy with HP above 50%, the bullet's ultimate damage 50%. Oh, this is bounce. This is bounce, right? This is supposed to say bounce somewhere, because bounce is written in here. bounce, fortress warfare, power surge, right? So this is what I'm looking for. Burst electrocution looks like it might be the play. I don't think it'll overcome this because this gives up my defense in order to get the damage, and the damage is not even that great. Well, the damage is whatever. Well, I gotta look at it. Power surge does give damage. I mean, not power surge. Fortress warfare does give damage on raining. Like normally it doesn't. So if you look here, fortress warfare here gives. Oh, actually, does it gives weapon damage. Heavy super armor with weapon damage. But the raining cash version is the blueprint here. Raining cash. I cannot look at it because I don't have it. Right? Is that the problem? Of course it is. All right. Pain in the ass UI system that's going on here. This one gives crit rate. So this is what makes this one legendary, because it gives you, on top of the super armor, it gives you crit rate and more damage reduction. And the longer you keep it up, the higher your attack goes up, right? And by maintain is just stand inside of it, right? Because Fortress Warfare goes away regardless, right? It has a 10-second cooldown, right? So as long as you stay inside it for the full duration, you're gonna 40% more damage. Interesting. That, like how this is kind of shaping up. But I don't think that's worth giving up. If this works, this is definitely the mod. For tops, what am I doing for my top here? Use this generic defense. So you have HP. Out of combat, gain 1 stack of damage reduction. Like that. When HP is about 70%, the head area is no longer a weak point. I don't think enemies headshot, so this is probably a PvP mod. When using healing shot, I don't even know where you get a healing. Oh, the healing items. Damage reduced 40% for 2 seconds. This sounds PvP oriented also. When using a healing shot, movement speed 20% for 2 seconds. Refill the magazine from the inventory up to 100%. This also sounds like a PvP mod. I guess it'd be cool in dungeons, but these all sound like PvP. When out of combat, gain 1 stack of safe haven every 5 seconds, effect can stack 5 times. With every 5 damage received, remove 5 stack. This is actually pretty strong. This and this are pretty interesting. Having enemies within 7 meters around you grants you 10% damage reduction. Taking melee damage from enemies grants an extra 10% damage reduction. This is interesting because I'm supposed to be close range. However, you're not keeping the boss on you that long. But when the boss does come in, there's some bosses who are melee. This will for sure proc. But there's also some bosses that will never get into your range. So this will never proc, right? 7 meters is very close. There's the siren boss I'm thinking of, that you're walking on a platform. There's no way he's gonna trigger this 7 meter radius because you're always gonna be too far away from him. So what else is here? Damage reduction 20%, healing received plus 20%. When HP is below 30%, that's pretty good. When HP is lower than 60%, purge all deviated states. That could be decent. When HP is above 60%, a kill recovers 15% of lost HP. This is for this sustain. This is for like clearing sustain. This is one I would probably put on if I was farming like resources and doing an XP loop, or I mean a resource farming loop, just to not deal with it. But most likely be one of these, either resist advantage or enduring shield. And then this one is an offset, just for if I'm farming trash, I don't want to be bothered by it. It seems like HP is available everywhere. I'm saying this is very rare is to get flat HP. Apparently flat HPs is very rare. Maybe flat HP might be the play, there might be a reason why it's very rare. This is for your bottoms, your pants. Each crit hit by a non-melee weapon grants 5% crit damage up to 45% effective movement upon next reload. This is something to consider because I am stacking crit damage and I am critting a lot. So this might be something to play with, even though I don't like the idea of losing it all after each reload. But I will have more bullets on target because I have more bullets to hit the target. So this might be pretty good. Killing with melee, I'm not using melee, period. Killing two enemies refills 2 bullets. This is way too conditional. Killing 2 enemies refills 2 bullets from inventory, no more than half the magazine, and grants 10% weapon damage and status damage lasts until next reload. This is way too conditional. Weak spot damage 10% when a bullet hits a target from more than 20 meters away. I can't even do that because I'm using a shotgun. Weapon damage plus 5%. Every 5 bullets consumed in the magazine grants 4% weapon damage, capped at 20%. I can't make use of this because I don't have enough bullets in the magazine to make this worthwhile. When the magazine is empty, status damage plus 10% for 12 seconds. This would be good on a double barrel shotgun. I was using it before, but then again, I do empty my shotgun fast enough to maintain. I think I do maintain this. I think I do maintain this fully outright. Let's check it. Yeah, I got 1 stack there. I'm pretty sure I maintain this. It takes a while to get there. It's gonna fall off. But it falls off one at a time, it seems like. Yeah, it falls off one at a time, but I'm never gonna get to 3 stacks, it seems like. Actually, there we go. So I'm gonna have full. Oh, that's 3 stacks. No, so I always only have 2 stacks. I can't really maintain that. Oops, I was recording that. I didn't even switch over to it. But basically, at the bottom of the screen there, the third icon. I mean, it's gonna pop up there now after I reload. There, this came up there. When I'm doing this, I only can maintain 2 stacks sometimes, 1 stack sometimes, because my fire rate and my reload speed is not fast enough. So I would have to change this mod out. So I can't really maintain the status amplification. This was good on the double barrel shotgun. The double barrel shotgun, I was easily able to crank this up and keep it maxed out because you only have 2 shots and you're always reloading, right? Precision charge, every 10% weak spot hit rate from the previous magazine, elemental damage plus. Ooh. Reloading resets the calculation. This is hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge if I want this or not. So for every 10% weak spot hit rate the previous magazine, the elemental damage is plus 4%. Up to 24%. This is hard to gauge how good this actually would be. This is super conditional also. Super conditional. For the first 3 hits after reloading, not exceeding 50% of weapons magazine, weak spot damage plus 30%. Quite honestly, I think it's gonna be dead shot. It's probably gonna be dead shot. If I could get my fire rate up, it would be this, but I can't get my fire rate up to get this to 3 stacks. Because the only way this is gonna be good is if it's at 3 stacks at all times. I cannot get it past 2 stacks, and most of the time it's 1 stack. So this is only 10% extra weapon damage. It's not that great. This I can get filled though. This, I don't have the big brain math in my head to understand if I can do this enough weak spot damage per magazine to get this to cap. Because the only way this is gonna be worth it is if every other magazine is full percentage. Let's check the gloves out. Again, HP is marked rare. This is what I like. I like this generic crit damage and crit rate with no negatives. This one here is weird to me because this is obviously better, but this is just more crit rate. So that 5% more crit rate worth giving up 15% crit damage. Could be, depending if your crit rate's too low. I like this. I like this flat 80% damage. I also like this. I don't know which one of these are better. I don't know which one of these are better. Because again, I was saying, like, I don't understand why they're double dipping. My instinct tells me this is better. Elemental damage. But I don't know. I would test both these out. But again, I think there might be a translation error, but I don't understand why both of these are separated. Right? Weapon damage is only my bullet damage, but if I'm stacking status damage, then I would forego this and stick to one of these two. What is the difference between this and this? Why is this marked rare? Might be the same. This might just be a error in the grid here. But these are the choices. It'll probably be this. If I find crit amplifier, it'll most likely be crit amplifier. with this being a second and these two being a second here. This is going to require training dummies to practice out to see which one is more important. It'll most likely be this one though. What is on the shoes? I'm pretty sure this is the best mod for shoes, period. That's what I'm currently using. Taking no damage for 4 seconds. Grants 20% melee, weapon, and status damage for 30 seconds. The effect resets when the duration ends. This is just free damage. It is so absurdly strong. Like, just you're not gonna get hit for 4 seconds. It's not that hard to not get hit for 4 seconds. And then it gives you a 30-second duration of just straight up 20% more damage. Let's see what else. 10% melee damage, weapons damage when HP is above 9%, 2 conditional, and also worse than this. Having no enemies within 7 meters grants you 50% weapon damage, 2 conditional, and also worse than this, right? Because to me, it's like, if you're this far away, you're definitely able to trigger this, right? So, let's see. Accumulating 2 kills refills 100% of your magazine from your reserves. I don't like anything that relies on killing trash mobs. Killing like anything like this cannot work on bosses. I don't like building anything around that because you don't need, unless you're just farming trash, and I guess it's fine, right? But you're hunting bosses. You don't need to build around killing trash. Killing enemies within 10 meters grants melee weapon damage. Blah blah blah. Killing trash. Every 10% HP loss gives 4% melee weapon damage and status damage. I mean, if you're doing suicide bomber melee rush, then sure. But I don't like this because I'm not trying to maintain myself a low life, right? But yeah, I'm going to be using this. The great thing about this list is it tells you where to go to farm these mods, because each hard mode draws specific mods, as you can see here. It's in the red here, so you can target farm the hard mode that you want. You can solo it, or you can do it in group, and you can use this to kind of build your set. And how your upgrading works is you got to constantly be grinding, constantly re-rolling, because you know the mods themselves, the core effect never changes, but the attribute effects, those constantly re-roll, and you have to constantly try to keep re-rolling those until you get the effects you want. So there it is. Yeah, that's today. Thank you guys for joining my little theory crafting journey here. Yeah, hopefully I start showing some progress towards what my build is going to be. This is it's kind of a long video. I kind of ranted and ramble a bit on my videos here. You guys stuck around to the end. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for giving me your time. As always, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have yourselves a good morning. And if it's the only video watching me today, a good afternoon or good night.